Okay, let's start. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar on career opportunities for early career researchers. I am Sina Moradi, CIB Program Manager and Postdoctoral Researcher of Construction Management at Tampere University in Finland. Today, I will be chairing this event, which is recorded and will be available on YouTube channel of CIB so that others can also watch it later. Those who couldn't get the chance to join us here and now. Let's move forward and have a look at the agenda. So we pretty much already covered the first time, which was the introduction and welcome. In the next part, I'm going to have a short presentation on the CIB membership benefits for early career researchers, to be followed by two presentations by our guest speakers, Professor Kalle Kähkönen and Professor Billy Hare. And then we will have a QA session at the end. Let's continue with the next presentation. Okay, so CIB membership offers a variety of benefits to early career researchers. And I'm going to briefly explain those benefits here to you. Networking is the first benefit of the membership. Becoming a member of CIB provides a valuable opportunity for the early career researchers to expand their professional network by getting connected to the junior and senior scholars of built environment sector from different countries. In addition to the networking benefit, CIB membership also provides valuable career opportunities. Early career researchers, through their membership in CIB and being a part of CIB network, get the privilege of being notified about academic job opportunities in different universities and countries. This always puts you one step ahead of other applicants for the same job position. Another benefit of becoming CIB member is competence development and professional development, which is realized through the access to the webinars and seminars, which are conducted all over the world in online and on-site modes, and provide a basis for enhancing the professional competence of the academics in teaching and research. Eligibility for applying to CIB's funding and awards is another valuable benefit for early career researchers, which are CIB members. Good to note that only CIB members with paid membership can apply for these funding opportunities and awards. CIB membership also provides a valuable opportunity for international research collaboration. This benefit is realized by joining a large network of junior and senior scholars, which are CIB members and always looking for collaborators around the world. The last but not least benefit of CIB membership for early career researchers is the international recognition. Early career researchers which become CIB member get the opportunity to be recognized on the international level for their scholarly activities. This recognition is realized through the awards which they can apply as a CIB member. Another aspect of the international recognition is the possibility for leading a task group or a working commission at CIB. CIB still offers complimentary individual membership for early career researchers in 2023, whether employed by a CIB member institution or not. The registration link is in the chat box now. And you can join CIB by using this link. I am trying to put the link in the chat box. Yes. So, any question at this stage about the membership benefits which CIB offers to all the members. Okay, let's move forward with Professor Kalle Kähkönen's speech / presentation, how to prepare teaching and research portfolio for tenure track positions in academia. Yes, please, Professor Kähkönen.
Okay, thank you, Sina. Well, actually, I have a few slides which I could share perhaps with you.
Yeah, sure. Just a moment, I can. So I will stop sharing. Do you have the possibility to share, or I can
let me see. No, well, I think you need to.
Okay, now I made you the co-host. You can share it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can you see my presentation now?
Yes, yes, we can see.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Sina, for organizing this special event and for inviting me to be a speaker here. I'm Professor Kalle Kähkönen from Tampere University, Finland, and in our Faculty of Built Environment, I'm holding a chair of construction management and economics, and I'm in charge of research and teaching under that field, if you like. Besides of that duty, I am also head of our civil engineering unit. And today my presentation outline looks like this. First, a few words about me and CIB. So what has happened there during last decades, if you like. And then a few words about academic career path. And then something about tenure track positions. So how we should approach those and how we should think about positioning ourselves in terms of tenure track positions that are available and can be of interest to us. Then perhaps the main thing here is how to prepare a competitive teaching and research portfolios, and also that early career path researchers can be successful there. So this is my plan for this this short presentation. First, a few words about myself and CIB. So I got involved in CIB already a long time ago, ages ago, when I was already on those days, I was a doctoral student in University of Reading in UK. And then I participated in my first CIP conference. That was a joint construction management and economics conference that was held in Sydney, Australia in the year 1990. Oh, bloody hell, so a long time ago already. And but it was a very refreshing and inspiring event, and I gave a presentation there, and I immediately got an impression that this community can be good for me. And since then, I have been more or less individual that can be considered as an active CIB member. And I've been connected to W65 actively, construction management and organization. And I have been involved in organizing CIB symposia and conferences. What you can see over there is, for example, a conference that I organized in Finland, joint CIB International Symposium. That was in year 2005 in Helsinki. And then perhaps a kind of very, very nice privilege, honor that I had in year 2016 when we organized World Building Congress in Tampere in Finland, and that was a very, very nice opportunity. And okay, so looking at the back and looking at behind, so what I have been doing in CIB and what CIB has meant to be, all I can say that it has been of importance for my career in different ways. So networking within CIB, to get friends there, to get inspired, to get new ideas. So it has been very, very valuable for me throughout my career. And all I can say as a personal recommendation and based on my experience that this is valuable network. This is a valuable community, and I feel I have a very positive feelings about this, and based on my experiences. Okay, so then, but anyhow, so then let's go further and think about because our focus in this looking at early career researcher is in tenure track positions, but before being there in a position where you are thinking about tenure track, so what has happened in your life is that you have made a choice of an academic career path, and this is what it's something that must be present already there, and that you are there as a junior scholar and moving ahead, and thinking about what kind of life it is. So when you are moving ahead in an academic career path. So first of all, I like to characterize it as an endurance sport. So it is something like that. So you are moving ahead step by step, and it's like a long-term effort. How to manage it successfully? So I would advise you to think about that you are creating your own milestones for something I would call small wins in terms of publishing, networking, teaching involvement, out-of-box thinking, and actions relating to this, and also research fundraising. It is very good to be active in multidimensional ways, and this is good for your CV. And I think all young researchers, so they should look at this whole day activities in this way. So think about how you can in a as rich manner have different kind of elements that are coming to your CV, and think about your activities in this way. Think about how you can get small wins in terms of everything I have listed here, and it is very, very easy to focus on your own research and think about it and it only. But if you want to get connected to community where you are, you need to do something else as well. So to be active in terms of small scale teaching involvement. Think about possibilities for additional research fundraising, think about being active in different ways, because it's certainly good for your CV, and it makes your research and life richer. And when you are working like this, so your CV gets better and better, and you are let's say basically already more competitive in terms of tenure track positions that can be available there. From university viewpoint, what are tenure track positions? They are investments of importance for universities. So from our university management side, so looking at our teaching facilities, our electricity cost, etc., it's something that is compulsory there. But where there is investments of importance, so that's tenure track positions, laboratory facilities, something like this. But investments, tenure track positions, they are very, very important investments, and this is how universities are seeing those. They are looking towards future potential academics, and as a job descriptions, so tenure track positions, they are very, very carefully prepared. So what you have learned from scientific writing, so those rules, they are valid there as well in terms of how tenure track positions are explained. So this is the world. And then looking at preparation of a competitive teaching and research portfolio. So of course, the most important starting point there is a CV. But also what is of importance is different kind of supporting material that you can generate. Of course, based on your CV, but based on some other things that might not be present in your CV. What is here very, very important is to understand what the universities are really wanting. Look at very, very carefully what is there inside of job description. Try to think about behind the scenes. So why they are profiling a certain tenure track in a way as it is described in the job description. Familiarize yourself with the profile of teaching and research in the university unit in question. Try to look at behind the scenes in terms of who are the key experts, what are the major research interests there, what are their teaching areas. And why to look at this? So it is usually very, very good and clever to integrate your application with the previous. So by providing linkages to the existing activities in the targeted university unit, and you should highlight your personal potential for the development of current activities. So this is how the people who are then going through your application, so they can see that there can be a very nice match between yourself and the university that is there with their own strategy, their own desires, if you like. And of course, this everything, it needs to cover both teaching and research. And therefore, as you can see, so we are talking about teaching and research portfolio. In terms of what universities are expecting, how they are describing the needs, so sometimes they are presenting a certain kind of portfolio. It's like a template of different kind of things you need to explain. And this is everything that needs to be look at carefully. Something you need to perhaps look at also closer, that what is the balance between teaching and research in the job description. So are they looking for tenure track for their tenure track position? So are they looking for individual that is supposed to put attention more research, or plainly research, or is there a teaching and in what way present in the job description? And really what is of importance here is to put your application into perspective of the university unit in question. Okay, because for example, when we have a tenure track position open, so we are announcing it internationally, and we are getting applications from different countries, and it can be very difficult to position those. So they are coming from different kind of black holes, if you like, and somehow we should be understanding. So what is the relevance of this everything in terms of certain research field, certain discipline, if you like, and how we can understand the competence and potential of this applicant. And for this purpose, so something I've seen missing quite a lot is that the applicants, they don't have academic references. And my piece of advice would be here that put attention on academic references. So who are there? Who might be there in terms of your application? Because when there are well-known scholars, of course, as an academic references, so they are immediately, so they are giving an impression that this applicant, so it has a relevance also in terms of those very well-known names. Okay, so and then of course when tenure track positions are open, so there's a competition, and there are a lot of applications, and usually there is university HR people involved, and they are checking the applications, and if there are some let's say basic mistakes in terms of certain things that are missing, so then those are mechanically put aside. So they are not getting through to the final evaluation at all because of some let's say basic mistakes in terms of applications as such. So get all expected details right and carefully checked, preferable double checked. And finally, I would like to emphasize here that the preparation of a good quality academic job application, it takes time and effort. And from university perspective, we are seeing that as a let's say threshold test. So if the applicants are seriously wanting this job, then they are ready to take this effort carefully and put the effort there. Start thinking of this early enough, and don't rely on the final day before the submission deadline. Okay, thank you everyone for your attention. So this was pretty much my presentation today.
Thank you very much, dear Kalle. It was Wonderful. So let's share my slide again. So let's move forward with Professor Billy Hare's speech on how to get ready for an academic job interview, and then we will have a Q&A session at the end.
Thank you, Sina. Can you?
Yes, I will make you a co-host.
Yeah. Okay, that's working now. Okay, so my name is Billy Hare. I'm a professor of construction management at Glasgow Caledonian University. I'm also the Deputy Director of our Built Environment and Asset Management Research Centre, as well as being a joint coordinator for W Working Group 99, which is for safety, health and well-being in construction. Share that joint coordinator with Fred Sherritt, who's currently based at Boulder, Colorado. Myself and Fred, our research areas are aligned in this area of construction safety, health and well-being. And I'll probably make reference to that as we go through the presentation. And I'm going to give you some of my own experiences and advice from a UK, a British perspective in terms of applying for and being interviewed for academic positions. I have to say though, I've only ever worked at one university here in Glasgow, but so my experience is based purely on that. But I'm reasonably successful. So I think I will be able to give you some good pieces of advice as a young researcher. Now, just like Kalle, I'd like to talk you through my my life with CIB. CIB has definitely been part of my success as an academic. I used this slide that you can see just now at a recent presentation with Fred at Purdue University in Indiana, USA. And I thought it was so good, I would use it again today. The top left-hand photograph you can see is a very early photograph of me at one of my very first CIB conferences, a rather young and handsome looking version of me that doesn't look much like it does now. That's not the very first CIB conference I attended as a doctoral PhD student myself. Similar story to Kalle. My first conference was the W99 conference in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, which was co-hosted by the eminent Professor Theo Hupt, who is on today's call, who I can see in the corner. Hi, Theo. And co-hosted with Professor John Smallwood. And it was the most, at that point in my life, the most amazing experience I'd ever had. Part of that was down to Theo and John's planning and execution of a wonderful conference. Part of it was meeting people I had only read about in journal papers and seeing them for the first time. It was like meeting superstars. I'll put Theo in that category as well, of the world of construction, health, safety and well-being. The other photos I've been since then, and they're wonderful looking, aren't they? What a magnificent career. About, that was 2005, Theo, I think, Port Elizabeth. So about 20 years ago. And the others since then are various photos from different conferences around the world. And if you get the opportunity and your institution, funds your travel, then it's magnificent. As Kalle had said, it's opened up doors for me, not only in terms of networking and meeting people who are like-minded and people you can learn from, but also you learn and you see all these magnificent pieces of research being undertaken in different parts of the world. It gives you your own ideas for research proposals in your own home country. And it also gives you opportunities to collaborate with these international individuals and bring them in to be part of your team, or you join their teams. And it just makes for an all-rounded, excellent academic. You also, not just on the research side, but on the teaching, many of these presentations become really useful. Many slides and photographs I've borrowed from such CIB events. But, it's not just about the conferences. These events like today and other meetings and being involved in the workings of CIB, they're really good for your CV. They're really good for your personal development. And it's got me to where I am today, which, a director with the research centre here at Glasgow Caledonian University. And although my research area is construction safety, health, well-being, having access to all these working groups as a member of CIB, just about any subject matter that's important for the built environment is covered by the working groups and or the technical groups, and you can always dip in. There's always an expert you can contact to speak to. So I can't speak highly enough of CIB in that regard. So today I'm going to speak to you a little bit more, and it builds nicely on what Kalle had given you as far as an introduction. So, how do you get on that pathway from being possibly a doctoral student or an early career researcher to landing your first proper job where you don't need to worry about paying the bills anymore because you've got a regular income. Here in the UK, and it will be similar across different countries, Kalle had said similar thing. You might have a purely research position that you're applying for. It might be purely teaching, or the perfect scenario, in my opinion, is a combination of both. If you're purely research, then particularly in the UK, but worldwide, these three terms are important. Income, research income, possibly consultancy income. You might not be bringing this in yourself, but you might be part of a team that's contributed to bringing income, and it's important for many universities. Outputs. Are you writing peer-reviewed papers? Are you writing a chapter or a textbook or other similar maybe reports for important organizations like CIB or others, or government departments? So publishing is, of course, important for a research position. But more recently, research and outputs just for that sake on its own is not enough, and you need impact. CIB is an area that can help with this as well, because we're not just groups of researchers. We're encouraged to interact with industry, and you need that interaction with industry to help you garner impact. It doesn't just happen, serendipitously. It happens with hard graft and effort, and cultivating working relationships with those in industry or those in government who will be noticing your research. The classic definition of impact flowing from a peer-reviewed research paper is flawed. That's not how it happens. Someone in a government department or a high position in industry is not always in a position to read one of your peer-reviewed research papers. You need to have an industry-friendly version of what your research has achieved so that you can garner that impact. If you're focusing on teaching, then pedagogy is the word that you will hear a lot. But I'm throwing another word in here, andragogy. Use this word in your interview, and you'll let everyone know that you're a little bit more educated than most, because pedagogy, the peda, relates to the learning of children, but everyone uses that term, whereas andragogy is the philosophy of how adults learn. And if you're in a university, of course, you're teaching mainly adults. So it's quite useful to know the difference between the two terms and be able to reference the two if you are discussing teaching. And of course, if you've got a combined research and teaching role, these items I've just discussed are equally still important, but added into the mix is how you get your research into your teaching. And this is something I've been able to do, fortunately, because I've been able to teach on the areas of construction safety, health, well-being. So whether it's throwing in a statistic that your research has uncovered, or whether it's a key finding from your research that you want to drop into a specific subject matter as part of your lecture. And in some cases, I've even had the odd research journal paper included in a seminar or in a working tutorial where I'll get the students to read the paper beforehand. If you're lucky, they will read it beforehand. If you're not lucky, you end up having to go through it with them on the day. But then you draw out from that. You know, it's a good way of letting students see firsthand how they might undertake research themselves for their dissertation or their research project, if that's part of their education, and letting them see the constituent elements of a research paper, because of course that's just a miniature version of a dissertation or a thesis for your students. So now I want to look a little bit at preparing for your academic interview. And this slide here, just a few bullet points on what to expect. Your interview panel, Kalle had already said that might include someone from HR, your human resources, but more times than not, there might be someone who's non-construction in your interview panel. An interview panel will usually be at least 2 people, average maybe 3 or 4, sometimes more. Be prepared to be able to explain in basic terms some of the acronyms or the terminology that you might use in your interview for someone who might be on the panel who's non-construction. Expect questions on your curriculum vitae or your resume, as they might say in the US. If you write something in that CV, be prepared to back it up and be able to explain and build on it in an interview. There's nothing worse than embarrassing if you've got something that you've said spectacularly in your CV that you're not able to give a further explanation or an example of. You know, if you say you're a formidable communicator, interpersonal skills, and then you might be asked something about that, be prepared to talk to those items. For many academic interviews beforehand, you might be given a problem or a challenge or some objective that you will be asked to speak to. Think about this strategically. Usually at a department, I know this from experience myself, if I'm interviewing, I'll make that problem statement or that challenge something that the department itself is facing. So how do we increase our overseas student numbers, for example? That might be a question that's put to you. So be ready to think about that strategically and have some bold ideas up your sleeve. You might be presenting separately from the interview itself. So it's common again that you might have to make a presentation to department staff. That might be on the same topic as your interview a question, it might be something else. But this is your opportunity to let the staff know in the department, as well as your interview panel, that you know your subject area and you're able to present and articulate your main points. When you do, or if you do have a presentation as part of your interview, always complement the text with graphics. I've found from personal experience that in my younger years, I might try and be just too fancy with my presentations. And what you find is the more relaxed, the more confident you get in what you want to say in a presentation, the less you rely on the graphics and the fancy buzz things going about the screen. And you make the presentation more about you, the individual, and less about what's on the screen. And as again, this is just an anecdotal thing, but if I see a young early career researcher with a really fancy presentation, I'm immediately thinking, is this because they don't have much to say themselves? So bear that in mind. Graphics are good, but not too much. Expect follow-up questions from department staff if you are making a presentation to the department separately. That's their chance to question you. They'll want to know how good you are, particularly if it's a teaching element to the job. Then your ability to take questions live there on your feet will be a good indication, and they will feed back to the interview panel just how well you have done that. Things you can do to prepare then. Obviously, you're going to do your research on the department, the university, or the school at which you're applying for the position. So what research groups do they have? Do they have any high profile staff or projects that they are proud of that you need to know about? This is where CIB can come in effectively as well. Working groups and the technical groups can give you a background of who are the main people, the main individuals, and as far as the built environment is concerned. Don't just make the mistake of searching the internet for your intelligence. Actually speak to people. And if possible, if you're known to the panel beforehand, it gives you such an excellent edge on others. If they don't know who you are, if the first time you're meeting the interview panel, they don't know your name or they don't know your face, then you're already at a disadvantage trying to prove yourself to them from the first second. Whereas maybe if it's a school of built environment, they might very well have links to CIB. So you get to know them. You might be applying for a post in the university at which you've studied. So you might have an opportunity there to get to know them as well. You may have possibly undertaken some guest lectures or helped out at this university. That's where you get the opportunity to get your face known to them. The specifics of the post, as Kalle had said, the role description, as he referred to it, you got to know the roles, the responsibilities, the skills, experience for the position being asked, and compare that, do a gap analysis with your own, what you've done in the past. Where is your alignment? Where, be honest about where your gaps are that you need to fill those gaps and how you might plan to do that. You might, for example, align your research or your teaching, as the remaining bullet points say there, with what's already there within the university, what they teach, what modules or courses they teach. How many of those do you align with? Don't make the mistake of saying, I can teach every one of your modules, right? Don't be too eager to please. Have a hierarchy. Have the ones that you say, how many modules can you possibly teach in a semester? Maybe 2 or 3. What are your 2 or 3 big ones that you think, I could teach this subject? And then your second level in the hierarchy, ones that you could help out with. Show the people on your interview panel that you've thought about this and you've got, here's your best areas and here's where you can help out. Other things there, in the future, looking ahead to the future, what can you contribute to? What can you bring to the university in terms of your network? Or it might be the country that you reside in, that you've got contacts with. It might be through CIB. You have a network you've developed as a young researcher that you bring those to you. And as it says at the bottom of the slide there, practice this, practice saying these things. I used to be very suspect of role play and this kind of thing in the past. But what I've learned over life is that if you're doing something that's really important, really crucial, and the first time you're doing it is when you're doing it for real, it just adds to the anxiety. If you can have a little mock presentation of this or try out with your friends or work colleagues, it makes for all the better. It helps you prepare so much better. Here are some questions I've just lifted from the interviews that I've been involved in that I just wanted to share with you again, so that you want to try and practice and try and predict what potential questions, because they can be very similar. Each interview will have a similar core of questions. So how easily can you summarize the research you've been involved in over the years? Or maybe it's just your own PhD work that you've undertaken. Can you very quickly describe the methodologies and the skills that you've learned over that time? What ideas do you have for future research projects? You've got to have this up your sleeve if you're particularly applying for a research element in the post. So what are your ideas? As I said earlier, being part of CIB gives you insights to what these ideas might be. There could be something you've seen in Australia that could be applicable to the construction industry in the UK, and you think, yeah, they're similar economies, but Australia might have the edge on the UK in certain things. I've learned this myself. Australia's far ahead of UK on issues around mental health and with construction workers, for example. Do you have a track record for attracting funding? You might not if you're an early career researcher, but you might have been involved as part of a team, and you could try and articulate that, what your role was in that, in helping to win that funding or deliver successfully. Always be specific about the projects you've been involved in. What's the upside here? You've successfully won this project. Have you successfully delivered it on time as well? And within the budget that was ascribed to the project? These are important to anyone who's looking to recruit. Teaching experience and style. So you might be asked about this. That's your opportunity to show off, but also show off that you understand the difference between pedagogy and andragogy. Thoughts on how you can contribute to teaching research in the department in the future. So as I said earlier in your preparation, you can think about where are your strengths, where's your hierarchy of teaching areas. Involvement in the wider academic community through committees. So have you been involved in committees? If you've been involved in committees at CIB, that's a good proxy as well, because you're generally working with other academics from other universities, and you get to see how things are done in other universities when you speak to academics from other countries and other academic institutions. And yet again, as I said in the earlier slide, practice your answers to such questions so as you've got them ready, so you know immediately what your response will be, because they don't vary too much from these types of questions. I just want to now run through, what you might expect on the day and give you again some words of advice from me. These days, you've got this additional thing to consider. Will your interview be face-to-face or will it be online? If it's face-to-face, you'll probably wear your best clothes and you'll be smartly dressed, I'm sure. But if you're online, don't forget to do the same thing. Don't forget about your background as well when you're on the screen, and don't forget to do a check. Is it going to be on Microsoft Teams? Are you going to be on Zoom or something else? Double check your technology. The usual flow of things in an interview. There's usually an introduction. This is just to get you talking, get you to feel comfortable. So that's your opportunity to tell a little bit about yourself to the panel. Be careful what you choose, but you want to let them know that you're an individual. You've got some aspects to, are you involved in any charities or through your local religious organizations or other voluntary work that you do? Bring some of that in as well as your academic work. Why do you want this post? This is always a surprise. I don't know, not always, but you'd be surprised how many times people seem surprised by that question in an interview. Be ready to answer that question, why you want this post. And no, it's not obvious at times. Is it part of your progression? Is it this institution that you really like? Is it the post itself that really appeals to you? You've got to make that clear. Then you'll get specific questions about you, about your skills. That's where your CV comes in. If you've written something in the CV, be ready to give examples. If you write something in your CV and you do not have a suitable example that you can talk through with a relevant amount of detail that explains your experience and how you've dealt with something, then it makes your CV look rather false and superficial. So you've got to have examples from your career. You might then move to whatever the major problem statement is. So you might, for example, get a specific question about what the challenges are for that department that you're applying for the post, and that will obviously be specific to what that question is. But of course, you've got to do your homework. And as I said earlier, CIB website is useful for this. Looking through the commission work groups and that kind of things help you with your homework on that. Future plans, don't forget about that. Where does this job factor in your future plans? Do you see yourself on a trajectory towards professor someday? I say this, but my own experience when I was an early career researcher, I thought professor was beyond me. How could I possibly make that? Looking at the people I saw around about me, how could I possibly get there? So, whilst I'm giving you this advice, I, don't take that for granted. Your future plans might involve just getting established, just getting realistic about things, landing your first big project, or becoming, gaining a teaching qualification. If it's a teaching focused, that might be your future plans. And you might be thinking that, once you pass that milestone, then you can think about future things. Have something ready in your head, any questions that you have for the panel, something that we didn't ask. These are always things, not always, but invariably, this is thrown in at the end, particularly if there's a little bit of time left over, you might be asked such a question. So be ready with a really insightful question. Might be something, don't make it about money. Don't make it about how many holidays do you get, right? Think it about, their investment in you, what you can get from this post that's going to develop you as an academic, something that's a bit more insightful for that. You might have prepared, if you're taking my advice, you might have prepared a few answers to questions that you thought that was a really good answer, but no one's asked me that question yet. Well, that's your time there. Bring that one out, present it to the panel. And as I said, you might, either before or after, you might be invited to present to the department. So don't forget about that. And as I said, the words of advice I gave you earlier apply to that. So that's some words of advice and little nuggets of gold that hopefully you'll find useful. As I say, it's based on my experiences within the UK, but you'll probably find that it's applicable in most countries across the world. So thank you for your time, and I'm sure there's probably going to be some time just now to take some questions. You'll notice that some of the slides, including this one and the previous ones, the 70th anniversary logo is present in the corner there. So I wouldn't be doing my job for CIB if I didn't mention that we're celebrating our 70th anniversary this year. So thank you for that, Sina. And I'm happy to take questions alongside Kalle, if there are any.
Thank you very much, Professor Hare. Wonderful presentation. So let's move forward with the QA session. Any questions from our speakers about the presentations or any other general questions that might be relevant? Please feel free to ask. Yes, Theo.
Thank you, Sina, for arranging this very important webinar on a topic that I think every one of us at some point in time will have to consider and prepare for. And thank you, Kalle and Billy, for, I think, just a great presentation and some excellent advice. And I thought, just to ask you maybe, something I discovered during my current trip to the US, where I am at the moment. I was talking to a few chairs of departments, and we were talking about what do they look for in new hires. And he was saying to me that the mistake that most in the US do when they apply for a job at a university here is that you tend to highlight your research first. And he said most universities are interested in academics who are willing to teach, and then the research is a secondary aspect, even though it is equally important. So you were saying that one should look at your CV or your resume and highlight the teaching before we actually highlight the research that we do. And he actually sent me a number of examples of CVs and resumes that he has seen over the years that he's been at different universities. And they all seem to have the same kind of headings. And he explained that the reason why those headings are important in that order is because all the universities use a screening system where they score against certain categories of information, and they all seem to be in the same pattern. So if it will help, Sina, I'm willing to make those headings available that you can distribute to others. But I think just to get from Kalle and from Billy, what do you think about this emphasis on teaching above research, especially if you are a passionate researcher?
Kalle, do you want to go first or second? Were you speaking there? I think you were on mute.
Sorry, yeah. Go ahead, Billy.
Thanks, thanks, Kalle. Theo, you're dead right, of course. I've had a sheltered life. I've had a wonderful life in academia in that I've followed the research route. However, I am a research academic that's always been involved in teaching. And that's probably something I've left off the slides that I should have mentioned. I did allude to the fact that, you know, my favorite is a research and teaching post combined. And that's because that's what I do. And it's probably an element of my success as well, because you get periods of time where you don't bring in research income. So if you're able to teach, it's extremely good to be able to just drop into the teaching role and expand that and take on a few more classes. And that's important. Because I'm research related, I would always have the research first on the CV. I would feel like it was high risk to put teaching first, but I take what you say, Theo. And yeah, I think if you want to be a rounded academic, and I do this for all my PhD students, I get them involved in teaching, and some of them don't like it. Some of them don't want to do it. So you've got to nurture them and coach them and mentor them. But not doing it is not an option for me. That sounds a bit harsh, but it's because I want them by the time they are finished and they graduate with their PhD, they can put on their CV that they have both teaching and research skills. And I feel as if I wouldn't be doing my job if that wasn't the case. So I fully endorse what you've said there, Theo.
Okay, thank you, Billy. So I would fully build on the things and principles you were explaining, and I see it is in a highly similar way that that research and teaching, in a way, they go hand in hand, and they both are of importance from university management viewpoint. So they are putting in their communication, they are putting a lot of weight on research, because that is extra income to university, and teaching, it's like a basic funding that is available for teaching, and because of that, so there is like a natural tendency to put more attention and weight on research. But on the other hand, so looking at things we are doing with industry. So, for example, we have put our attention on something we are calling continuing education, and it is like an extra teaching modules or services we are building towards industry, towards built environment sector, and that can be a kind of an interesting new income channel towards university. But what I started here was that I was saying that teaching and research, they go hand in hand, and I 100% share my thinking with Billy's thinking that it is good for any researcher to do some some teaching as well.
Sina, can I just come back in on something that Kalle has prompted in my mind? One of the reasons I guess that I'm comfortable teaching is I have industry experience. And if you're an academic who's gone from school to college, university, then you've gone on to do your PhD, then it might be that you don't have that life experience. You don't have, particularly within a vocational degree such as construction or engineering. It means you might be restricted in the classes that you can teach. So I would say, particularly if you're like Kalle and myself, construction management, you've got to have those little anecdotes, those little stories that help convey the message you want to communicate in your lectures, that you can encapsulate in a story from your experience of working on construction projects. And if you've had a purely, from school through to university experiences, then I would say during the summer months, your tenure might involve a contract like in America and the US that gives you so many months in the summer months where you don't, essentially you're not getting paid. You either bring in research during those months or you work. So you might have opportunities over summer months, for example, to get some industry experience. So I would say that you probably want that on your CV if possible, to both look good for the CV but help you with your teaching.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Yes, Theo.
Thanks, Sina. I know others may have other questions, but I think just something to bear in mind is that use this opportunity to sell yourself, because that's really what you're doing. You're selling yourself in competition with others who are wanting the same position. So you want to be someone that the university would be interested in appointing. And you use that in your cover letter, which most applications require, is that you actually write a cover letter and trying to respond to many of the points that Billy raised in that cover letter, but try and sell the most positive things about yourself. And just one word of caution, which some of us do, we're not all specialists, and there's certain subjects or modules that we like to teach and others that we don't want to teach. Don't say that too early when you make the application, because that might disadvantage you in terms of the final decision. And all of us have known from experience that we can actually learn to teach something that we don't know too much about. So I think just use the opportunity and put your best foot forward, because you're actually in a race to secure a position against someone else, and you want to get there. So don't disadvantage yourself.
Thank you very much, Theo, for the point. There's a question in the chat. I'm reading just from the chat. Given that we are currently in the age of artificial intelligence, what impact do you foresee AI having on research projects, especially as a research specialist in the field of construction management? What skills and knowledge should we develop to remain at the forefront of the research in this area?
I'll go first if you want. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've had some dealings with the Chat GPT. Interesting interaction. I wanted to experiment with it to see how good it was. And one of my roles in the university is I'm a member of the ethics committee. and there was an application, and it had some sensitive issues that needed what we call in the UK safeguarding. If the term translates, you've got vulnerable people that you'll be interviewing. They might become distressed, so you need a plan of how you will manage that situation. And the PhD student came back and asked for some advice. Is there a template, or is there some advice on how they might go about that? So I just put it into the AI chat GPT, and it came back in 2 seconds with about a dozen bullet points of really useful guidance, saying, think about this, think about that, look here and do this, signposting. It didn't write the whole thing, but it gave you an excellent template for which to, and I sent it to the guy, and he was astounded by it. And I didn't say this is my advice. I said, I got this from ChatGPT. So it is only going to get even better at these things. So if we look at that as a threat as well as an opportunity, it's a threat to people in our business who deal in knowledge, because it will supplant our ability to provide knowledge. It's not quite there yet, I think, but it's getting there. Some others on the call might disagree with me. You might think it's already there, or you might think it will never replace the human. But I'm seeing examples of it. I'm about to write an article. I've not started it yet. I'm just thinking about it, on the merits of AI, artificial intelligence, writing a risk assessment, and if that's possible, and what the pitfalls might be. And in doing a little bit of research for that, I've found that there are pitfalls, because as it is at the moment, it's just drawing from what's in the internet. So if there are falsehoods on the internet in general, then this AI, as it stands at the moment, just replicates those falsehoods. So it needs an expert to pick out where things can be wrong. So at the moment, that's where I think the human is still useful. And I've never been fooled to think I'm speaking to a robot when I've got a chat function on a website. But at the moment, I think I can tell the difference between speaking to a real human being and something that's artificially generated. So my worry is that the pace at which it's improving is phenomenal. So our future skills might not be so much in terms of knowledge, but might be just in the relationships and the ability to work with other people and reach compromises and reach agreements that maybe an artificial intelligence will just give you a standard answer. Construction, of course, is non-standard in many areas and is very unique. Every construction project, although it has standard processes and practices. So yeah, I think we still have an area in that time of interactions, relationships, but even that might eventually disappear.
Thank you very much for the response. Kalle, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, okay. So looking at AI in general, so I think we have a huge danger here in terms of looking at different kind of research potential and thinking about different avenues. It's opening here in different levels, and of course from a construction management perspective. So this is very interesting in terms of different kind of research opportunities that are there, and yes. So but thinking about what would be a kind of advice towards junior researchers here is that try to make sense of this everything in a way that acknowledge that AI is it is a huge very, very fast developing thing, but it's providing interesting possibilities to provide explanations over the phenomena that are very, very difficult to explain in otherwise. But as Billy mentioned, so what is there in terms of AI at the moment? So it is mostly a piece of technology that has been taught in a certain way, and if there are some false false data behind of it, false logic, so it is causing an application that's not properly working. But anyhow, so AI, it's for sure it's going to be a research arena for its applications, also concerning construction management. That will be of importance, and for junior scholars, so it is also an interesting opportunity in terms of new research breakthroughs.
Thank you, Kalle. Thank you very much. Good points. I have actually one question myself. It has been in my mind for a long time now. I'm going to ask from our speakers here about their opinion. So what I usually or most of the time see on this job postings is the very good or great track of publications, which they are asking from, I don't know, doctoral graduate or a postdoc researcher who is applying for a lecturer or, for example, tenure track positions. So my question is that considering the time which it takes to produce good quality publications, what is the logical number usually in the mind of the recruitment committee for this good track of publications? How many? Because this is a very generalizing question, but most of early career researchers always are wondering, okay, what is that magic number that they are looking for in terms of the publications? What do you think it is?
Sina, I can probably work through a logical process to arrive at an answer. Again, if I've got a PhD student, I'm expecting, flowing from their PhD thesis, 2, possibly 3 papers of peer-reviewed journal papers. There may be any number of conference papers or other outputs, but 3 good quality, and that's usually 1 per year. But you might not necessarily have it in that order, because you might have 2 the second year and 1 the final year or something, right? And I like, as an academic, to produce at least 1 good, what do we call good, but in a peer-reviewed publication from a list, either of built environment ones that I know, or if it's got a specialism to it outside the usual discipline, at least 1 per year. Now, others might publish a lot more than that, but my view is, if you're publishing more than that, how can they possibly be high quality? So it's very subjective, and it's my own opinion. 2 or 3 flowing from your PhD, and at least 1 per year that's of good quality. And that would fit as well within in the UK, our Research Excellence Framework, REF. I would be looking for an academic, and the REF period usually runs every 5 years or so. So I would expect, to say to an academic, give me your 5 best papers, and we'll choose from that for each one. And that's what I'd be looking for. And if applicants were realistic, I think that's what they would say. I see a lot more than that, but I think that's perfectly good. That's enough. And it would be about the quality more than the quantity.
Thank you very much. Kalle, what do you think? What is your opinion? What is common case or expectations in Finland?
Well, what Billy explained, it's very logical, and it's something we can expect with young researchers that are, say, productive in a way we'd like to see them be. Of course, there can be besides of top quality publications, there can be something else as well. But perhaps based on this, so a piece of good advice would be that put attention on and put resources on a certain paper every year, and try to produce something else as well, but have the main attention on something that you consider of prime importance, and that can be considered as a top quality publication.
Thank you. What about number? That is still in my mind. What is usual expectations? For example, if you are a member of a recruitment committee, of course, there are university policies in there too, but if you are hiring for a position of associate professor, how many publications, not top or not low, but medium or level, acceptable level of quality publications would you expect from someone who has completed PhD and has been, for example, postdoc or lecturer for a couple of years or more than that?
Sina, can I just say, being on an interview panel and the amount of time you have available to review the documentation for each and every applicant, how many do you think I might review or have a look at in the time allotted for that review for that each and individual person? I might see a big long list of publications, and the first question I'll ask myself is, how can this person have possibly written all these? What has been their input to all these papers? Then I would maybe choose 2 or 3 from their list, from their CV, and maybe go look them up and read the abstract. And I would only read beyond the abstract if it was of personal interest to me. But that would give me an idea, immediately, if it's just filler material or if it's real substance that's really good. I'd be looking as well to where, you're not supposed to officially, but I would be looking where it's been published, and I'd be looking to see if it's won any awards or any recognition. That's what I mean about the quality above the quantity. And I think, to repeat, I think as long as you're publishing one good quality paper per year, I don't think someone with 10 papers a year is going to get a jump on you, because that's just one fraction of the things you have to take into consideration. Yeah, I think if you've got 0 or you're at the tail end of the authorship and you've not got many others, then that gives a poor. So it only becomes an issue if it's on the very low end. And if you've just graduated postdoctoral, I would only expect you to have papers on your PhD. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much. What do you think, Kalle?
Well, when we are getting applications for different levels of tenure track positions, so of course we are comparing those with each other and thinking about which one is, or which one are the few ones from those that can be put on a short list. And of course, we need to do that in a systematic manner. And of course, for this purpose, so we are looking at the publications, and they are always of importance. The applicants who are then will be in the shortlist. So they usually have a few very good top-level publications, but they have a bunch of publications besides of that. So so it is this kind of game where the applicants are, and it's not so black and white, so that we can say we can say that a certain number of certain type of publications are needed there, but it is this kind of game I described here.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sina, can I just jump in here as well?
Absolutely.
I think it depends on the stage in your career that the applicant actually is in. So I agree with Billy about the number of papers from your PhD, but I would use pretty much as a mean 2 journal papers per year consistently. The moment it gets to be more than that, then one starts to ask the kind of questions about the quality. But I think one must also bear in mind 2 other things that are important. And I was told this by 2 very important people that Billy remembers who have since passed away. And they told me, Theo, you need to build a national reputation and you need to build an international reputation. So we also look at when you choose where you want your work to be published and what audience you want to have, then that will determine in which journals you publish, not only just in terms of high quality journals, etc. So international, there are many countries, and if you want an audience in those, then you would try and publish in those, even though they may not be in the high quality. And don't forget that you want to build a national reputation as well. So I would glance at where they published, what does the national and international profile of the applicant look like, and how does that tie in with where I see the department or the university wanting to be.
Very good point. Thank you very much, Theo.
Sina, before you move on, I've just reminded one of the jobs I do, and Kalle and Theo probably similar. I'm sometimes asked to review professorial applications. And I do remember actually in the Middle East, there's been once or twice where they have specified their professorial criteria. They've specified a number for publications, but it was actually very low. It was between 3 and 5 in total, but they'd specified 3 or 5, and they'd given like a citation index level or for the quality of the journal paper that it had to be published in. So there's one thing from memory where the actual number was mentioned. But if you think about that, 3 or 5 for someone applying for professor, and I wouldn't say exactly where, but a Middle Eastern university is a specific number I've came across.
Thank you very much. Great to know. Any other questions? If not, then we can thank you. And I appreciate our speakers' great presentation and their wonderful responses to the questions. So, yeah, that's it for today. Thank you very much for participating in this webinar, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Sina. Thank you, everyone.
You
Thank you
too.
so much.
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.